with it for a moment. No idea what I want to talk about, just on the live. I took care of a number of things in a personal capacity last night. If there, I almost wanted to go live and do a 9 Doors of Midgard again, but there was a really good drop of a Michael Sarian new interview on Earth Alchemy LLC. I don't think that's. I mean, I might be word salading her channel. Cheryl Ashburn, I think, is where you can have it, and she's permitting Michael Sarian Interviews channel to mirror it. So you'll end up seeing it there if you can't find her. This is so yeah. Otherwise, I wanted to say that as I've been talking a decent amount, especially on X, in confrontation of America's shaman, Jake Angeli, who doesn't have enough self-awareness to talk about why he thought he was an admiral before January 6th, let alone talk about his shamanic initiation in a clear and defined manner that isn't just a description of his ideology. He used an obscure description of his ideology of being like all for the greater good or something, and that's bullshit, right? Because what happened back in the day when two tribes that had shamans were fighting each other, and each shaman was promoting the fight against the other from their side, right? So you need to fucking understand that, have the self-awareness, right? Because I guarantee you, though, a real shaman on that side, they may be doing that. For perhaps an agreeable reason that, like, would be exactly what the tribe would come to expect of them, right? And so you're using shaman because you want to be a spiritual and moral leader of the nation in social media. And so you're using the word shaman that way and then adding techno in front of it, so on and so forth. So a big deal, that why I'm kind of starting with that is that I was called a shaman in the title and at the beginning of that episode I've been talking about, because I was on Unchained Legion, Unchained Brain podcast, Ben Farley, and he paid for psychic reading from me, and then gave me an interview after the psychic reading while we were having our conversation. It was awesome. But he wanted to honor me as a quote shaman, right? Because of the spiritual things that I do, right? My ideas, my wisdoms, and everything else. And then, because I don't really know what the fuck to call me anyway, I didn't fucking say anything about it for a hot minute. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He was sharing his feelings about that idea in general, which inspired me to want to, just make that disclaimer, right? Because when I was way younger in this game, and didn't fully grasp what it meant to be like a shaman in the way that people have correctly known it from a high standard meaning, right? It's like, it's fine if the term is incorrect because of perhaps background, if you've still gone through an akin thing, right? I've never done anything akin to shamanic initiation. And I'm certainly not going to take credit for rituals I told you I did. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, because I took a heroic dose of albino penis envy and I saw an thing that looked like an tentacle angel. It felt like I died. I'm now a shaman. No. But I am something. So I had him change it to magician. I'm doing magic. And I may have ideals and morals that I profess, but that's not coming from any title. That's just coming from me, in my own inner authority, speaking from my inner authority, right? You know, when the thalamus is in your heart, you're going to give yourself some form of heart disease if you ignore that, right? So be on the lookout. If you see the posts and they got the splash that says a shaman called Zeralath, you'll click on it. It'll be the same thing. It'll say a magician named Zeralath, and I'm much happier. Much happier. Thankful for him fulfilling that request for me. I truly wanted to make sure that I was representing myself as properly as I can, right? I'll be changing the name of this channel at a certain point, as well as my Facebook page, from Immortal to Eternal, right? Because I'm growing in my vernacular in this manner, being more and more proper in my speech. It's an absolute necessity to mastering the world, because the world exists through interactions of different gestures, actions, and words, and we relate to each other based on our gestures, actions, and words, our postures, and so on and so forth. We will imprison ourselves by a lie, because eventually the world you're living in shifts. And if you don't realize that you need to change, you'll stay in a particular position in the world. And I know that if I didn't take my own personal actions that seem to have nothing to do with how well I'm doing out in life, that the world, your world, changes in the subtlest of ways. You may not realize the string of better decisions you ended up making as a consequence of how you shifted your patterns from the destruction of old habits and the creation of new habits. And the destruction is necessary for the creation, which is why the destroyer is a good and powerful thing, right? Thus Shiva. And and Shiva's got a nice, cozy, destructive relationship with cannabis. But then again, almost every single fucking god has got something to do with cannabis. It's almost all over the place. I don't know if it's in North America. It's certainly in the South, Central, right? you know, having spiritual ceremonial practices and things like that, having some level of relationship with spirits and psychic abilities and all these different things does not make you shaman. But it is good for many men to do these things. And to know the role, right? You know, because you want to resurrect this role, but you're resurrecting it from your romantic childish fantasies and not from sacrifice to the tradition for some sufficient amount of time to be what the cultural equivalent of what you are is trying to do, right? How come American shaman calls himself a shaman when that's a German word for a Siberian medicine man? You know, like I checked the etymology. It's actually, you know, it's just a shaman or something like that is German, and that gets translated in English to shaman, and that's because it was the Germans who discovered these spiritualists, and we bestowed that name on them, right? Which is why I'm saying it's okay to call yourself a shaman if you're fitting parameters, but it's not arbitrary to everybody with, you know, doing spiritual work and primal magic, right? But shaman's been the word going on because the New Age movement started talking about shamans because it was helping fit, you know, the story they were telling to themselves and marketing to bring people in about the need to learn from the shaman's ways. Look at what the shaman teaches us. Look at all these primal first steps of whatever, right? And so to fill the gap of the fact that there aren't a whole lot of shamans because now people are in a deep need to have personal connection with shamans, not because they necessarily need that for a personal connection with God, but because the shaman's got the talents for their particular metaphysical issue. Right, Theo. Like a shaman sees in the dark. Sure, yes. But we have to define what it is to see and what it is in the dark. Because I have seen in the dark, but not because of anything that would qualify me as activated on a shamanic level. This is my point. We want to say it's shamanic, all of these things. Shamans do have all of these qualities. So I suppose saying it's shamanic is fine. But it's a relationship that I know that I don't have, just from meeting other people that maybe they're not even shamans either, but I can tell from their energy field because I get super sensitive about whose energy field I come to, because I have a penetrating aura. I know this about me. And there are certain people that I like a whole lot that I wouldn't want to penetrate my aura upon because I can tell that I would tell that it would be too much of a trouble if I'm not sure that it would be accepted. Right, because I think that people would be against it. Yeah, you need permission, right? It's like vampire powers are the inversionists. Like you have to invite the vampire in, right? But then there's an amount of context about that as an evil, right? You're not just saying, well, it must be evil because if I have to let you in, then I'm obviously protecting myself, right? And so low-key, they don't want to have anything to do with your ability. They don't see it as a good thing, and so they're treating that aspect of you like a vampire when they're rejecting what you two have both seen and agreed upon as you need healing. But then it's just like, oh, I gotta heal. Can I... Dungeon Master, I'd like to cast Lay on Hands. The goblin's resisting. It is? It just wants your shiny. Oh. Well, he's not getting that. He needs to stop asking for precious. That's actually his problem in the first place. Good. I don't need the GPS to get here anymore, so I don't have to fucking have an issue. Alright. Good stuff. I'm like about 5 minutes early, which is perfect. Alright. So the shaman sees in the dark because of the initiatory practice having immersed their mind in the realm of the dead. All right, their mind is always got a certain channel to the dead, and it's not like a fucking cell phone. You can't just turn this off as an app feature in your fucking. I mean, you can do all sorts of work that is like that. But ultimately, you have to live your life a certain way. You have to live your life with certain barriers up. You're not fucking out there inviting the world in, because you're inviting the vampires in. And this is an aspect of what it means to be so big in public, right? And, granted, you have very, very little to fear if you're a good person, of good heart, yada, yada, yada. And I don't know if someone like Jake Angeli is a fool or an op. And this is the crux of it, right? It's just like, I'm forcing the matter. I'm forcing the matter by giving him proper definition of terms he uses to hold him accountable, right? This will push him into a place where he now realizes there's a limit to his world, because if he now tries to keep growing and sees that these people know what traditional shamans are, and they find it deceptive and insulting to that tradition to call myself that, and they won't give me any energy, credit, or power, right? You know, as far as I'm concerned, with someone like him, yes, we all should have called for him to be set free and to have what he has now. But that doesn't mean you let him get away with his delusions or potential lies. Certainly lies, because he's lying to himself at the very least, because it's an untruth he is speaking. He is speaking an untruth. And I am forcing him to know that he can't just call himself a shaman flat out, under the context and assumption of what it really means. Because you are emulating the fucking psychopomp. To have that level of power, Shivanic power, Odinic power, mercurial power, this you have to fucking knock on death's door. Not just go a bit woo-woo crazy for 5 minutes. It's not something you were born to be just because you're an eccentric person struggling to fit into this world like me. Shaman-esque, right. But the ick and the esque means not shaman, but you would know it from shaman, from what shamans do, from shamanisms. That's the difference. All right, I gotta get to work. I'll catch you later.